So I'm going to be trying something new with this video. I'm going to try and record my audio as I unbox things, and as I do the build itself, I'm going to be trying to reduce my editing time, and maybe you guys can get some real-time reactions to my builds and my thoughts on it, so you might be able to get a bit of a better insight on how all that works. I'm going to start off by saying this is a commission I just got sent for the KR-Sabers Kestis from Jedi Survivor and the Shoto expansion pack. So I'm going to be installing both of these with an Eco chassis, just an Eco chassis with Profi, probably V3.9 for both of them. Haven't quite had a look at it, but in any case, I have all the parts, the hilts. We're going to get that installed hopefully today. So this is the Kestis hilt from KR-Sabers, I believe designed by Jimmy Saber Junk. This is the first time I'll have gotten a look at it in person. I'm pretty excited. I've gotten to work on pretty much every kind of Kestis out there, so working on a new one is always pretty cool to see the differences. Look at that. And here we go. Super nice looking. I believe these shrouds are steel, so you can heat stain them. And this back end has a detachable mechanism, so you can do a quick change. This is really, really cool. Look at that. I really love hilts that have fun mechanisms, and KR-Saber seems to be doing that quite a bit these days. Wow. That's super fun. Can't wait to do that with the Shoto. And these are a little loose, so I'll have to tighten those up. So we'll put that off to the side. Now let's unbox the Shoto. Cool. Looks like the Shoto has 2 buttons, which is nice. Wonder how the disconnect system works on this, or if it has a... I don't know how that works. Oh. Okay, so it unscrews, and this must be the quick disconnect pommel. Yeah, look at that. Really cool. You know what, I'm gonna do that for fun. Alright, let's try it. Oh yeah, look at that. That's cool. Look at that. That's awesome. So I guess you pull it back, connect it, pull it back, disconnect it. Super cool. But in any case, this is the Jedi Survivor Kestis hilt from KR-Sabers with the Shoto expansion pack. Now on to getting them installed. I think to begin this install, let's go over the electronics. So first we have the chassis. This is the chassis designed by Jimmy Saber Junk. There's a spot for the Profi. The connecting PCB for the twist and click connection, 28mm bass speaker, and these two will go in the neck and the main body area with the button. Then we have the soundboard. This should be the Profi V3.9. I'll open it up when we're going to install it. Next we have the 28mm bass speaker. This is the KR-Sabers version. Then we have the stock V4 pixel connector. This is the Eco version, so it doesn't have a bunch of extra features like blade detection or multiple data spots. Then we have the 2 different rotary chassis PCBs. This is a rotary chassis PCB with buttons, and this is a thin neck rotary chassis PCB. In the last 2 parts we have a button. This is a brass momentary tactile button and a kill switch. Now the Shoto is pretty much going to be exactly the same as the main hilt, except the chassis will be a little smaller, and I guess it has this piece. I'm not quite sure what it's for yet. We'll figure it out once we get started. And I'll also review some of the videos that Jimmy Saberjunk has on his channel. And then of course we have the Profi V3.9. And for the speaker, it's actually a bit smaller than the 28mm bass speaker. This could be a 22, maybe a 24, but I think it's 22mm. But the point is, it's smaller. Then we have the battery contacts. Not sure if I mentioned that in the main hilt, but that one also has battery contacts exactly the same as this. 2 buttons and a kill switch. Then the Eco NeoPixel V4 connector. And lastly, the thin neck PCB. I think what I'm going to do is install this one at a time, starting with the main hilt. So we're going to move the Shoto off to the side along with its parts, and get started on the main hilt. So I think I'm going to start from the top and work my way to the bottom, specifically because I want all the positive lines to go to the battery positive first before going to the kill switch, and I think that's just going to be a little easier that way, so I don't have to make any weird connections. With that being said, let's start with the rotary chassis PCB at the top. So this is not exactly a how-to, so I won't be going into too much detail, but I'll just cover a couple things I think might be interesting for you guys. I'm going to be pre-soldering the button 1, ground, data, and 1 positive and 1 negative pad, because those are the only ones we're going to be using. You know, while I was preparing my wires, I actually forgot I can use my colored wires now. I've been so used to using only black wires because I've been making such complicated builds and I only like using black wires for those. I'm still going to make it a point not to show too much of them though. I'm going to try and hide them as best I can. I also take back what I said about running the wires all the way down to the battery contact because I don't want to waste that much wire, because I'd have to run it from the top all the way to the battery contact and then all the way back up to the kill switch. I don't really feel like doing that. I'm just going to have it go straight to the kill switch and connect them on one of the legs there. There we go. That's all wired up. In case any of you were wondering, the positive and negative are 22 gauge. Everything else is 28 gauge. They definitely don't need to be that big. They can be super small, but for this build we have tons of space, so why not? I'm going to use them because they're not going to break as easily. So this is going to go right inside of here. And I'm going to use some Loctite or E6000 to lock this down. I guess we'll see if that's enough. Well, it did something. If it doesn't hold enough, I'm going to add some E6000 down here, plus it'll help protect the joints a little bit. Next up are the battery tabs. For these I like to cut off the little tabs here, just in case the chassis doesn't have space, which often they don't have enough space. So I'm just going to chop it up. There we go. Alright, and now the battery tabs are wired up and glued in. As you can see, you can't see any of the wires. You can kind of see the black one a little bit in there, but that's because I had it go sideways and I kind of tucked it away underneath that little wing. I'm going to hopefully do the same with the speaker, which is next. For these solder joints, you could protect them either with heat shrink or you could use liquid electrical tape. I'm going to try liquid electrical tape and see how that goes. Okay, I put a little excess liquid electrical tape on here just because there was some red that I wanted to cover up. Hopefully this looks okay. Doesn't look too hideous, but I didn't want that red showing in the chassis. Now let's get the other side. And put it in the chassis. That doesn't look too bad. Looks pretty good actually. I'll just glue this in now with some Loctite. And there we go. we now have the speaker glued in place. You can kind of see the negative wire here, but it's black, so you don't really notice it that much, and you can only see it a little bit. Anyways, now on to the kill switch. Let's chop off this extra leg here, and we'll work with these two. Alright, so I actually probably should have just split up the negative from the NeoPixel connector into two 24 gauge instead of one 22 gauge, but I wasn't thinking, but it's easy enough. I'm just going to attach the 22 to the negative on the Profi board and just bridge the two, and it should work just fine.
This resistance.
Alright, it is now fully installed. This main chassis area is done. I did add a little bit of E6000 down here to hold some of the wires in place. I didn't want them falling down here in case, I guess, moving the soundboard would do that, which it might. But I put some E6000 in there to hopefully hold it in so it won't move and you'll have very little visibility of wires. So now that that's done, let's move on to the upper section of the hilt with these two parts. I'm going to start with the NeoPixel connector and the pin side thin neck PCB. Now to attach the wires to the NeoPixel connector. I'm going to use some Loctite to hold it in place. Alright, we have the thin neck connector in. Now I'm just going to add some glue, some Loctite to it to secure it in place, and we'll push it in and it'll be done. Alright, I got this glued in. Hopefully it's straight. I was having a bit of trouble doing that, but I guess we'll see. It looks pretty straight to me, but it could also be because the pins can be a little crooked sometimes, but all of it should still hit the correct pads. But I guess there's only one way to find out. I do want to mention it's important to take note that this pin side connector goes on the same chassis piece as this NeoPixel connector because it has a ridge for the pins to be protected. So when the chassis goes in, that ridge, that little risen part, protects the pins from going all the way in so that it'll extend their life. Now to install the final part of the lightsaber. This is the button section, as you can see. The button goes right there. We'll have the thin neck PCB up here and the rotary chassis PCB to connect to the chassis. Alright, the pins are all set up. Let's move on to the button. Alright, so I accidentally put some solder on this part of the button, and I'm a little worried it's touching the other wire. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go diagonally. So I'm going to have the negative here and the positive here. Well, not that it matters which is which, but I'm just going to have the two wires diagonal from each other and it should be pretty safe. The button is now glued in, so I think I'm going to set up the thin neck PCB now. I think maybe it would have been cleaner if I had set up the wires on the rotary chassis PCB first and then just routed the wires to the button and then to this thing, but I'm not doing that, so I guess we'll just deal with it as it is. You know what? I think I will actually add the wires to the PCB. I won't be able to do that with the button, but I can at least do that with the positive and negative and data for the thin neck PCB. Now I'm going to add some glue to secure this in place, and then attach the thin neck PCB. Alright, it's all wired up. Now it's time to glue it in, and we're all done. And with that, all three parts of this lightsaber are installed. We have the main chassis fully set up. We have the button section. And then we have the emitter. All that's left is to put it inside the hilt, make sure they're secure, make sure everything else on this hilt is secure, like the shrouds, and then we can move on to the Shoto. Okay, so I just realized that this is actually meant for the Shoto, because it's longer, and having two longer ones going together, it will not work in this hilt. So this one is the one I actually needed to install. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to install this, and then I guess then we'll move on to installing all this into the hilt. Alright, let's get this NeoPixel connector wired up. Let's add some glue to our connector holder here, and there we go. Alright, now I have all the parts to install this thing. So let's get to it. Let's open up the hilt and install all the chassis pieces. Here's the blade plug. It's pretty cool, it has a copper center. Now we just have to unscrew this part. This is what holds together this entire emitter. So these things are what I can tighten in order to tighten down this entire shroud. I just have to find the right size. And hopefully this will solve the wobble. Alright, hopefully that works. Now let's drop in the NeoPixel connector and tighten this screw here. That should hold it in place. It's one of these two. So I just took a look inside the hilt, and surprisingly you have to screw this in really, really far in order to get it to even touch the plastic. So now that I know that, let's put this back in. There we go. Don't want to over tighten, just enough so that it doesn't move. Okay, so next we have to put in this chassis part. In order to do that, I need to remove these. There we go. I'll have to set this up with some new 3M tape, but I have some, so. There we go. We can just slide that out. And then we will put this back in. It is backwards. Okay, now we'll put it in. There we go. We have a nice click. So let's hold that down and tighten this up. There we go, nice and satisfying. All right, let's put this thing back together. Seems like there's still a bit of a wobble, so let me figure that out. Okay, so I added a lot of Captain tape to this inner metal ring, just like Jimmy Saberjunk's video says. I actually added multiple layers, like 4 or 5 layers on each side. But now that I did that, these are super solid. They don't rock in any direction. So I'm going to leave it as it is now and put the rest of this together, and hopefully it works. Okay, so it's now a couple days later. I took some time yesterday to do some live stuff, but I also went ahead and worked on the config file, got that all set up. So yeah, this should hopefully be working. I did test it, it does work, and now I just want to show you guys, just it working, you know? So let's get this going. I'll show you the chassis real quick. Oh, right, and yesterday I got a new overhead light. If I can figure out how to work it. There we go. Look at that. Isn't that cool? I should have gotten this a long time ago, actually, because it helps a lot with work. I haven't gotten to build anything yet with the new overhead light. Actually, you know what? Aha! It has 2 sections I can turn on. It's a bit bright, though, so what I might do is turn it down. Okay, that's up. And low. I think that's okay. Hopefully that's not too bad. Maybe I'll turn off the middle one. Make it a little brighter. I think that works. Maybe. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, whether I should use this to film or not. Definitely want to use it somehow, because it just makes life a lot easier to see things while I'm working. Anyways, let's get this started. Here's the chassis. Look at that. And then negative goes on the spring, just as we set it up. Kill switch.
On Cal. And this is PD1.
It's set up with all Jedi Survivor fonts. Now we just unscrew this. Put it in, and it has the twist and click feature. Honestly, I'm not too big of a fan of the twist and click, but as long as it continues working, that's all that matters. Seems to work great so far, but I don't know what the longevity of it is going to be like. In any case, let's turn it on. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but it sounds awesome. You can see the blue. That's the force activation. Well, not force activation, like the force effect. There we go. So, I don't know if you guys remember, but one of my first NeoPixel lightsaber was a Kestis Hilt. And the one thing about Kestis Hilts, they sound phenomenal because the amount of space between the speaker and the pommel just allows for a great amount of resonance. But with this hilt in particular, there's some venting, sound venting here in these little windows, and you can feel the vibrations. And it's just absolutely amazing. This is a really, really cool feeling lightsaber. I think I activated the force while turning it off. Anyways, just wanted to show you that it works. Now we can move on to the Shoto, and I will show off all the other fonts and the thing that took me the longest amount of time, which was the party mode. I don't know why it wasn't working when I was setting it up, but I got it working now, and I'll show that to you once both hilts are done. So let's move on to the Shoto. Alright, it's time to work on the Shoto. Let's get this installed. It should be pretty nice today because I accidentally installed the emitter section when I was working on the main hilt, so we don't have to do that today. We just have to install the main chassis, so yeah, let's just work on that. I'll probably speed through this faster than the previous one because you've already seen it, and it's exactly the same. So yeah, let's get right to it.
I'm right.
Alright, so I just finished the chassis, and I did test it out real quick after I did the config file upload, and it works great. Let me show you.
Well, we ran into some trouble on our last job.
There we go. Now I just have to figure out what the heck to do with this and put it all inside the hilt, including this thing. Here's the captain tape on the little blade holder slash shroud pressure holder thingy. I have about 4 layers on each side. This should help prevent any kind of wobbling from happening, just increasing the tension on it. So I just wanted to show you guys because I didn't show you on the last one. Okay, so it actually seems I have too much tape on here, so I'll remove a couple layers. Alright, so this took me a while, but I ended up doing about 3 on each side, maybe 4 on one side, 3 on one side. It's pretty tricky because one of these is looser than the other. It still is very slightly loose. You'll see the smallest wiggle right there if you're really paying attention, but that's just me paying attention to too many super tiny things, because ultimately this is super solid, especially this guy. It'll be pretty hard to take that off again. Oh, and I actually learned this goes in here, and I have to take this out through some screws. So let's do that. Alright, you guys, I just spent the longest time trying to find these springs because they are so easy to lose. They just spring everywhere. You could just barely touch it and it'll go flying. So I tore apart my entire desk and was checking the floors for like an hour or so, trying to find these 4 springs. So I have them in here, and I'm being very careful because, as I said, they spring everywhere. So do not lose these. Let me show you how tiny they are. Do not lose them. There's 4 of them. Might not think there's 4 in here right now, but there are. They're all connected. Oh, you see that? They just sprung. Alright. Do not lose these. So when you're taking these things off, they go in here. Hold on to it and be super careful. Maybe do it inside a jar or something. I don't know. Put something over it, like Tupperware. Do not lose them. They are the smallest things and most scary to lose. I cannot believe I found them all, but here they are. Don't lose them. Don't lose them. Alright, now that we have the springs, I'm not going to touch them. I'm going to put this chassis piece in here. I learned you have to have it this direction. He also says on the video not to lose the springs, but I have forgotten that while I was taking things off and it just went flying, so don't do that. As a matter of fact, I'm going to put a big warning on the video saying do not lose the springs, be very careful. Anyways, this goes in here like this, and then this portion, there we go, goes in here. And then we just align it so that there's no set screw here that you can see. So I'm going to tighten this up, and we're going to move on with our lives. So I'm trying to put the springs in here, and Jimmy Saberjunk suggested putting some grease in there, which is what I did. So hopefully that'll allow me to put the springs in here, have them stick enough for me to put them onto the hilt. So yeah, this is not my favorite thing to do, but we'll get it done. Alright, so I got this one in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tape this down so hopefully it doesn't come off while I'm working on the other one. There we go. Got it working. So you're never gonna believe this. I noticed that one of these things was missing. And normally this kit comes with them separate and then you glue it in, but I think the customer who sent it to me glued them in himself. But one of them fell out and I only noticed this pretty recently. So I was scouring my floors and my desk again, looking for that copper piece. And I thought I remembered throwing it out in my little trash can. And luckily, I don't know how, but I found it. I think I'm just really, really lucky with this build right now, or very, very unlucky, depending on how you look at it. But either way, I found it, I'm gonna glue it in, and life is good. Okay, now we can put this back together, test it out, and then we'll call this entire project complete. There we go. All right, let's give this a test.
How we looking, BD?
There we go. We can see the light and hear the sound. And that is the completed Shoto. Let's get the main hilt in here, connect them, and we'll check out the final product. Alright, now that I've shown you both lightsabers working and connected together, I'm going to show you one at a time with the blade just a little bit, and then I'll cycle through all of the fonts and show you the, I guess, the party mode, which is really, really cool. So let's get to it. Okay, let's start with the main hilt. The blade plug needs to be removed first. There we go. And I'll put in a 1-inch blade. There we go. And this is what it looks like.
Cyan. Green. Indigo. Saber.
Alright guys, sorry for the mess back here, but I just wanted to show you the Party Saber in all its glory. Hopefully you can see it okay. There we go, it's green now. And this will just cycle through the fonts and it'll change fonts. But you could also trigger the real Party Saber mode, which, if I can get it to trigger without turning off the hilt, there we go. It'll randomly select the color. There we go. So every time you swing, it'll just transition to the new color, and it'll also change the font, so it'll sound different on each color. And you know what? I might just use this clip in my showcase video for the customer too, because why not? I've already done it. It's very fun. You can hear the difference. It's very fun. Alright, anyways, let's get back to showing off the rest of the hilt. Alright, so now the last thing to show off is the Shoto with the blade. So let's get this thing turned on, because I think I actually turned it off here.
I'll take the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
Watch my back.
There we go. And let's put a blade in this thing. Alright. I'll cycle through the fonts a little bit.
Cyan. Green. Indigo. Magenta. Orange. Purple. Yellow. White. Red. Party Saber.
Party Saber, I don't think I'll be able to show off properly, but I showed you for the main hilt, so that should be good enough. In any case, that brings an end
Blue.
to showing off all of these hilts and what they can do. Alright, and that brings us to the end of this build video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed checking out this lightsaber build, this really cool build of 2 hilts that actually connect together. Hopefully you liked this new style of video where I narrate over my build and you can get my thoughts a little bit better. But if you want to see more of this, feel free to comment and let me know. Hopefully I can get this thing edited pretty quickly. I have a ton of other videos that I've edited normally that need to come out soon, but it's going to take a very long time. So I'm going to do these videos first, or this one video on the Kestis Sabers first, and hopefully that comes out pretty well. But yeah, I think from now on I might be filming it this way. In any case, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and if you want to commission a lightsaber from me, feel free to contact me on Instagram or my website, averycastillo.com. And yeah, look forward to all my future videos. I've got a lot of cool stuff coming.